Hi everyone and welcome to this new tutorial. So I've been very busy. I've been planning my new tutorials for my Patreon channel, and I offer 2 a month for my patrons, and we've been painting a very special one, or I've been painting a very special one. I'm just about to share it now with my patrons, and it's a beautiful washing line in summer with lots of florals behind it as well. And you know what, I say every tutorial is special, but this one has been an absolute joy to paint. It's been so much fun, and if you want to click onto my Patreon channel and join us, you'll see exactly what I mean. So what I thought I'd share here is a simpler version and a warm-up really for those who are less confident with their watercolours, because we're just going to be using 2 colours, and I'm going to show you how the washing line started life. We're going to be practicing our negative painting, and we're going to have fun. In fact, I had a shock the other day. I checked my back pages on my tutorial, Patreon tutorials, and there are over 70 watercolour tutorials. Yes, 70. I couldn't believe it. So for £10 a month, you have access to over 70 watercolour tutorials. You couldn't even buy a DVD for that. So if I say so myself, it is great value. All the information you'll find on my website or on the links here. So do check out my Patreon channel if you want to take your painting to a further level. So for now, let's concentrate on this tutorial. So go grab your brushes and let's paint this beautiful little washing line together. And welcome. So before we get started, I just wanted to show you these. These are paintings, or this painting in particular is one that I've just shared on my Patreon site for my patrons, and it's been an absolute joy to paint. It's wash day in the garden, so we get to practice our negative painting, we get to practice our florals, we get to practice our shadows. So it's just a joy of a tutorial, and there's another version here as well. So you can just change it around if you like. In fact, it's quite interesting because, let me put these to one side, I do say that you can change this tutorial and make it your own in so many different ways. So for instance, here, I've changed the format. So I've gone for a long piece of paper, watercolour paper. It's a Saunders Waterford, by the way. And I've put 3 towels on there, and I've connected them as well this time. I've not left a gap. And of course you can see that I've added some beautiful daisies to our garden. So again, you can just change it as much as you like. So this is the first one I did. So this is the first attempt I had where I was thinking out loud really about, you know, how I could produce a lovely tutorial that's something a little bit different. And I decided on my washing line, as you can see. And I just used 1 colour for this one, and I've spritzed into those wet washes with my spray bottle just to give it a bit of edge. And you can see it just makes a lovely composition, doesn't it? And of course you can move that forward. So here, instead of using 1 colour, I've cropped the format. And I've made it a landscape rather than portrait, and of course I'm using 2 colours here as well, a blue and a yellow. So I am sure you will agree that it is a wonderful tutorial. I'm just searching around for the original. There we go. So yeah, it's a wonderful tutorial, and I'm going to show you how to paint the beginning stages where we add the clothes to the washing line. We'll throw in a bit of negative painting as well. So let's get started. So here we are. I've got my drawing down on the paper. It's a piece of Saunders Waterford, by the way. And I'll just show it to camera. Just a very nice, loose drawing of some clothes on the line. And I've just put, obviously, a line and the little pegs holding it on there. And I've got, as usual, a nice clean jug of water. Always got my spray bottle handy. Kitchen roll. Coffee off camera, you can just see that. I've got my palette, I've got 2 brushes, I've got a size 4 and a size 8 round, and I'm just using 2 colours for this one. So you can go for any dark colour. I'm going for the Sodalite Genuine. It's a nice colour. You can go for Payne's Grey Blue, you can go for Prussian Blue, you can go for any dark colour you like. Payne's Grey Blue, I mentioned that one. So many different ones. But I'm going for this one. This is a Daniel Smith Sodalite Genuine, which is a nice colour. And I've put a blob of it in my palette here. And I'm going to be using the Cadmium Yellow Deep with that. So we're going to be using 2 colours for this tutorial. Just going to put that brush down and move that out of the way. And before we start, I'm going to put some shadow work into the clothes themselves. And I need to think about where the light's coming from as well. And I'm going to have it catching this left-hand side. So that means that I can just take a very light wash of that colour. Not too dark. Mix quite a bit of that. Move you out the way. There we go. A big puddle of that so we don't run out. And plenty of water as well. You want it to be nice and light, not too dark. So, for instance, let's put in some shadows on this first blouse here. So I'm going to come in and put a little bit down that side. Maybe just put some swooshy marks down. Swooshy, is that a word? I'm going to clean my brush. And I'm just going to pull those shapes out a little bit as well. I don't have to stick within the lines at all, and neither do you. Just gives it a nice flow, doesn't it? There we go. So that's one item. We've got a lovely sheet or a towel here, and it's just flipped over that washing line. So I'm going to just put in a bit of a wibbly wobbly line there. Maybe some nice long shapes that follow the shape as that washing kind of blows in the wind. I'll clean my brush. I'm just pulling that pigment out. Again, if it comes out like that, it doesn't matter. In fact, I'll actively encourage you to do that. Let's put a bit of shadow at the top as well, just where that little fold is. And every time I make a mark, I just wash my brush. This one's folded over as well, so we'll give it a bit of a wibbly wobbly shape. I'm going to bring some shadows down like this. Cleaning my brush and just softening those marks down. And all I'm trying to do here is aim to keep this left-hand side light. Let's put a little bit of shadow down that arm as well. There we go. I'm going to put a little bit on the top. And don't forget, this wash seems very light now, and it will, sorry, very dark now at this point, but it will dry lighter. Pair of socks, again, I'm just going to put that dark down that left-hand side, and I'll put it down the right-hand side of that sock. I'll clean my brush and just soften that away. There we go. Just keeping that right-hand side nice and clean. Underwear. You could make it any underwear you want, really. You can have men's underwear, ladies' underwear, children's underwear, whatever you like. There we go. So I've got those nice subtle washes in, and I'm going to do something else now. I'm going to load my brush and I'm going to tap a bit more colour into that. And of course, I'm not trying to go around the washing. In fact, some of those little spots have become part of that washing. Now, I need to put my brush down. So I'm going to finish my coffee and let that dry completely, and then we'll come back to it and start to build up those values. Once we're nice and dry, we can start to add a few more details. And you can see I've got mine clipped down here, but I'm going to unclip it from that because I want us to start at the top and work our way down. And that is so much easier as well, because now we're looking at the negative spaces. I'll just pop a little section of that on there. We're looking at this shape here. So it's quite tricky because you've got this area here and then a peg, a line, a peg, a line, a peg. So you've got to keep your wits about you. And this is why you need to make sure that you've got plenty of wash as well. So I'm now going to darken this wash. I want it to be quite dark. And obviously we need it to be darker to show off the lights, shadows of the clothes. There we go. I'm going to pop in some yellow as well. But let's, in fact, I'm going to move that because I like a bit of arm room. So let's start off and let's put that blue in. And we can add a bit of water as well. Just keep bringing it across. There's the washing line. There's a peg. And you see, there's a peg. And then we can be free and easy again. Well, then we get to a washing line, a peg. And you can see I've always got this bead of paint here. And do you know what? That bead of paint is your best friend when you are painting big washes like this. Because if you've got a hard edge, it's going to dry very quickly on you, isn't it? And you're looking to keep that flow going. So always plenty of water, plenty of wash. There's the line. There's a peg. And you know what? If you miss one, it's not the end of the world, because you can always come in a little bit of white gouache and just pop those shapes back again. There we go. A bit more water, I think. There's a peg. There's the line. There's the peg. Nearly lost it then. There's the line. There's the peg. Do you know, if anyone was listening to this and didn't have the picture on, they'd wonder what on earth we're talking about. There's the line. There's a peg. It does sound a bit strange, doesn't it? There we go. And that is so much easier, isn't it, when you allow yourself to paint one section. I'm going to give mine a little spritz, just to break it up a little bit as well. We've got a couple of little areas that we need to paint as well. So, for instance, here we see the line. Just a little touch of it there, look. And where else? Oh yes, here, look, we see some more of that lovely background wash. And remember, you're making this wash much darker than your shadow wash. There we go. I'm going to bring that down a little bit. There we go. So we've done those sections. Now we've got the big section to do, haven't we? I'm just going to tip that way. Give that paint somewhere to go. Just this little bit here that's pooling a little bit. And also, don't be tempted at this point to go back into those washes as well. That is the worst thing you can do at this point, because you will get cauliflowers. I mean, I am introducing cauliflowers by spraying into it, but they're just tiny little ones. You do not want a big bloom in there, so try and avoid that if you can. Right, okay. So I'm using a big jug of clean water here. So I've got a lot of water, so I know that it's relatively clean enough to fill this whole area. And this is really where you need your wits about you, because I'm just going to give that a little spritz, by the way. Just a smidge there, look. Why? Because I can. And I'm just going to pop the dryer on that as well, I think. Let's just see if I can just... There we go. That's just dry enough now, so I can start to paint in these sections here. And I would say this is the trickiest part of all, because it's a lot of surface area, isn't it, to fill? And don't feel you have to fill it all, of course. You can just fade it off if you like. But make sure you've got plenty of wash. And I'm going to add more wash to mine, so I know that I'm not going to run out. And you know what? That seems an awful lot. And even now, I know there's a possibility that I could run out of wash. But I'd rather tip some down the sink than not have enough. Clean my brush thoroughly. Let's take some of that cadmium yellow. Let's make a nice puddle in here that I can come back to. That's probably about right. And clean the brush again, and you can see my water's getting a bit dirty already, isn't it? Okay, so let's start here. I think that would be easier, wouldn't it? So I'll clip it back up again, and we'll start here and we'll start to pull those washes through. So I'm going to start with the blue again, because I don't want to automatically go under there with yellow. I want a bit of continuity. So I'm going to bring that down. I've got a feeling I won't need that size 8 brush. I think this brush, so it's a size 4, isn't it? This is the size 8 that I'm using, sorry. This is doing the job. I mean, if you've got a good brush and it goes to a good point, then you can get away with using just the one brush for everything, really. Right, now I'm going to put some yellows into that. Doesn't matter where. Look, I can push them right up like that. I'm just allowing them to mingle with the darker colour. Let's come in again here. In between those little sock shapes. There we go. Keeping it nice and loose if you possibly can. Remembering that bead of paint. Always there, look. Let's come in into this shape here. So we're painting between the socks and down the edge there, look, of that lovely blouse or shirt. More yellow, I think. More yellow. And we can also add some more of that darker colour into that as well. I'm not going for anything in particular here. I'm just looking at washes, really. Keep cleaning my brush. I can flip in those two colours together at random. I can give it a little spray. There we go. And now I can continue working down this edge here. So I'm going to come in here. There's the line. Pulling that wash down. There we go, all the way down. A little towel shape as well. There's the sleeve and the neck. Let's put a bit of yellow in there now. Keep adding the darks as well. It's very therapeutic, isn't it? You're just in your own little world. Let's give it a spritz. Back into that wash. Where are we? Let's find this shape now. So there's the line. There's the towel shape, and that comes right out. This lovely curl like that, doesn't it? We'll put some little wibbly, kind of wobbly edges onto that. And maybe some wibbly, wobbly edges onto that blouse shape as well. Back in with that yellow. One last section to do. There's the line. There we go, all the way down. And if that isn't good enough practice to paint negatively, I don't know what is, because for me it's one of these most important skills you're ever going to learn when you're painting with watercolour. I'm going to give that a spritz as well. Now, I'm going to wait for that to completely dry, and then going to start to add a few more darks that are going to really pull this composition together. So this one is nice and dry now, and you know, yours is going to be different to mine because obviously I've just added these yellows kind of randomly, so we're not all going to get exactly the same picture, but what we are going to do is use exactly the same techniques. So for instance, let's start to emphasise some of those lights by putting a dark next to them. So I'm not necessarily creating anything here like I did with the other one where I'm creating flowers and things. I'm just looking for shapes. So for instance, in fact, a nice thing to do is that. Just turn it upside down. It's so much easier because I want the washes to kind of run in this direction as well. And I always like to exploit a light. So for instance, I'm going to pop in quite a dark colour here. And it kind of blend into that a little bit. I can clean my brush. I can soften away at either side. Remember, we're not creating anything at all here. We're just putting darker colours against the lights. I might have a little bit more actually. Let's put some up here as well. And maybe take that through the line and the peg. Maybe a little bit here as well. I can clean my brush and I can just bob in bits of water just to soften it away. So I'm still keeping that nice dark value, and I'm just softening it away by just adding water to it. And automatically that really does show up that lovely light edge now, doesn't it? Should we do some more? Let's take some shapes up into this section here and put a nice dark. In fact, you can add it anywhere you like. I might put a little bit here as well, look. I'll clean my brush, just add a bit of water. Let's add a bit this way as well. So we've got lighter areas and darker areas. There we go. Maybe a little bit more dark up here, just to show off that light. And I'll just let it continue up into that section. And let's turn it back round now and let's have a look what we've got. Oh, can you see that's so much better now? It's really showing off those lovely lights. And you can continue to do this all through your picture. So let's find another shape. Let's make it quite dark here as well. Let's put a bit more dark into that section. Maybe a bit here as well. Of course you can do this as well, you know. You can add more yellows. We can do that, can't we? Just add in some more yellows. Letting those washes just mingle onto that paper. Occasionally I'll add water as well, just to soften it away. Let's come up. Let's just put a nice bit of dark just here. Add some water. So you can see what I mean now, can't you? But that everyone's picture is going to be slightly different to mine. But it's starting to work, isn't it? It's starting to come together. Let's have some dark. Just there, look, why not? Have a little bit here as well. Clean my brush and just pour shingles around. I can add more yellow, let's do that. Let's add some more yellow. I can drop yellows into that already wet wash as well. There's nothing stopping you doing that. As long as you're keeping those nice darks against the lights. I think I'm going to give this one a spray as well. Just to break up that colour. Let's come up here. Let's do a different take on this. Let's come up and put this quite dark value up here around these lovely yellows. Softening away. You can see I cleaned my water as well before, can't you? It's a good job I did. There we go. Let's put some darks here as well. Let's push that value up. Give it some movement. More of the yellow in there maybe. Maybe here as well. It's just so much fun, isn't it? Playing around with washes, and you're not putting any pressure on yourself because you're not painting anything in particular. You are just painting washes, experimenting. flipping in wet into wet colours. I'm having too much fun. I know I need to stop. Just a little bit more dark, I think. I'd like a smidge more dark, just maybe against that shape. Some water. Pull it down. And yeah, I think I should stop doing that. So it's a bit of crazy fun, isn't it? Let's give it another spritz. And of course you can go back into the washing as well if you wanted to. I'll tell you what is a nice thing to do. I'll do that before it dries. I'll just take some yellow on my brush and just pop in little yellow bits there, look, just to suggest those peg shapes. There we go. I'll leave the washing line as a white. And of course I can come in and add extra shadow. So maybe I just want a bit more shadow underneath some of the folds. But yeah, I think I should stop because I don't want to overwork this, and it's a lovely exercise to try, isn't it? So go and take some photographs of your washing or use mine for inspiration. Enjoy the process. We're not creating masterpieces, we're playing, we're learning, and we are having fun. What is not to like about that? Okay, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.